Ask the Podcast Coach for November 15th, 2025.
Let's get ready to podcast.
There it is. It's that music that means it's Saturday morning. It's time for Ask the Podcast Coach, where you get your podcast questions answered live. I'm Dave Jackson from the schoolofpodcasting.com. And for those of you watching the video, I'm having a bad hair day. But you know who's not having a bad hair day? The one and only Jim Cullison from theaverageguy.tv. Jim, how's it going, buddy?
Greetings, Dave. Happy Saturday morning to you. Good to be back after a week off. I know you were out at a conference. I do want to say happy Veterans Day to everyone, to all our veterans from last week, and thank you for your service. Appreciate that. And then Movember is going on as well. So if you're raising money for Movember, nice job. Get that done.
Yeah, is that the thing where you don't shave or whatever?
Yeah, you grow a mustache.
I kind of usually do that. In fact, I was laughing. I was watching some old videos from the School of Podcasting this week, and there's one where it's in January, and my hair is down to my shoulders, and I was like, I don't think I'm doing that. It's like the shampoo bill alone is enough to drive you crazy. But we got a nice day here in Ohio. It's time for some hot Java. There we go, and maybe some chili later. So,
yeah,
there we go. And that coffee pour is brought to you by our good friends over at. That's the wrong button. Oh, see, Dave's out of sync. From Mark over at podcastbranding.co. Boy, you miss 1 week and you're just pressing the wrong buttons. If you need a great graphic designer, Mark's amazing. He's done a lot of artwork for me, and he's probably over 500, if not 1,000 other podcasters. And it's not just artwork. It could be a full website. It could be a PDF that you want to hand out. Anything that's going to go to your audience that you want to look good. Mark is the place to go. And the best thing ever, hey, buy one great graphic artist, get a podcaster free. That's right. Mark's been podcasting for a long time, so he's really going to give you an understanding that you're just not going to get from some other dude on Fiverr that doesn't know what they're doing. So when you're ready to look your best, there's really only one place to go, and that is podcastbranding.co. Tell them Dave and Jim sent you.
Such a nice jingle.
It is.
Big thanks to our good friend Dan Lefebvre over there, based on a true story, podcast.com. In honor of Veterans Day, I want to send you back to an episode he did a while ago on Saving Private Ryan. If you haven't checked that out, published June 3rd, 2025, a review with Marty Morgan. Might want to check that out today. Dan always does a bang-up job over there, and appreciate all the work that he does. Check it out today, based on a true story at basedonatruestorypodcast.com. And Dan, thanks for your sponsorship. Also, Dan is a Home Gadget Geeks listener too. He came over on Thursday night, was hanging out with me on Home Gadget Geeks. So what a great guy, Dan. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I have a question from Randy. He says, hey, is that a BAM? It is. It's my BAM. Oh, nice. BAM, son. From his show. Really nice t-shirt, by the way. Like the fabric. I was like, that's pretty cool. So got to meet Randy in person at PodIndy, which is where I was last week. And it was an intimate gathering, but it was a good gathering. That's, to me, I don't really care how big it is. I care about how many cool people do I get to meet. And I got to meet a lot of cool people, including Randy. And then, because Randy's cool before I met him. That sounded weird. Like everybody was cool except Randy. I'm like, no, Randy's very cool. And then Dr. Craig, Craig Van Slyke. I'm not used to calling him doctor, but he's a doctor. So, respect.
Yeah, he earned it.
From AI Goes to College, did a half a day on AI stuff. And I got to say, as much as there are times that I'm like, AI, I will say this story quickly. All the videos are still kind of down at the School of Podcasting. So that lifetime deal I got from Adillo, is what they said to me.
Not necessarily a lifetime, right?
Yeah, not necessarily a lifetime. And when I complained, they went, no, thanks. And so that's been fun. And I forget why I started that story now. Oh, lifetime deals, yes, are not always lifetime. So
they're never lifetime. They're never lifetime. Let's just be clear. It's a long time. maybe, but never.
Yeah. Yeah. I ended up spending like $15 a month for the hosting, and then they wanted to charge me $35 going forward. And I said, no. And so I moved to Voomly, or I'm in the process of moving to Voomly. 130 videos I've re-uploaded so far, and I got about another, 50 or 60 to go. So that's fun. I did see a question come floating through here. Daniel says, I so wanted to be there. Oh, but anyway, I started to talk about AI. So I'm uploading these videos, and the cool thing is Voomly will automatically transcribe them. So I took the transcripts, threw them into ChatGPT, and said, hey, this is from a podcast tutorial. Please summarize the main points. And it was like beautiful because it was my own words. Yeah. I think that's the best way to use AI for creation is give it a transcript of something you said, because then it sounds like you, and it's not like, you're not so much deep delving into spoiler alerts and all that other fun stuff. But I saw
with 50 M dashes and
yes. Ralph asks,
nobody ever wrote with an M dash before, by the way. Nobody.
Right.
As you talk to, I'm sure there's a few faithful out here. Oh no, Jim, I used M dashes all the time. I get this at work all the time as we talk about that. Oh no, I used an M dash before. I'm like, nobody knew what an M dash was before AI. Let's just be really clear about that. So, friends don't let friends use M dashes.
Yeah, I didn't realize that until I saw that. I was like, oh, okay. First of all, I didn't know what an M dash was. Then I was like, to me, I would just call it a double dash, because isn't that really what it is? And so when I was like, I'm looking for the letter M.
Yeah, nobody knew the difference between a dash, a double dash, an M dash. I mean, we listen, all we knew is there was a dash and an underline or an underscore. That's all we knew. And most people didn't know how to use those. And they weren't using them in sentences. Listen, go back 10 years to anything, any book, any newspaper, anything on the web. No M dashes. They're not there. This is an AI created, kind of thing that, they use them properly. AI does. They do use them properly. But that wasn't a common thing in the English, in English vocabulary or in English writing to use the M dash as much. I mean, I had it write like 3 paragraphs. It had 5 M dashes in it. You're like, was that necessary? Like, did you really? And it sounds okay. I get the idea why they do it, and I understand the sentence structure, all those other things. We just didn't do that before. So it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see if AI brings that back. Like if it re-enters into the writing styles of English speaking people, will have an effect globally. Well, other languages, will that have effect in other languages? And you just kind of think it might. You never know.
Well, Rich says designers and typographers know and use them dashes all the dang time, because
I hear this all the time. I say this. Oh no, I knew. No, nobody.
Yeah,
nobody.
Dad Space finally connected the dots for me. It's a dash that is the width of the letter M. I never understood. I was like, why is it an M dash? So that's always fun. But yeah, so it did a really good job, and I like Voomly so far. I actually can see some stats on how far people are watching, et cetera, et cetera. I do believe I have an affiliate link for Voomly, because it's from, who's the one internet professional guy that runs ClickFunnels that looks like he's 12? I forget his name. He's a really young looking dude. But when I saw him, I was like, oh, it's that dude again. So that his brand was enough to where I was like, all right, I'm going to go with these guys. We shall see, because it's one of those things where it would be cheaper if I used bunny.net. Well, while I'm speaking of that, look, it's night of 1,000 affiliate links. Because that would have been about, I don't know, maybe $6 a month, and this is 20. But it's got some fun marketing stuff. But I did have a question come in here, 2 of them actually. Since we're talking about media hosts, I'll do Chris's first, and we'll come back to Ralph. This is a fun question for me because I've had a lot of people ask me this. Any insights on what's going on at Libsyn? I will know more. I'm going to be on Podcast 411, which is actually a bucket list item for me. That's the original podcast about podcasting by Rob Walsh. And when they shut down the feed, I kind of like the fact that Rob said, oh yeah, I'll make my own podcast. So he's kind of, Chris is asking, they ended the feed and then they let Elsie go. And words cannot express how my brain just goes, what? And I go, no, they let Elsie Escobar, 19 years at Libsyn, super influential in the female podcasting space, in the underserved group space, like huge like she puts a capital I in the word influencer. Yeah, we don't need her. And I was like, that's when my brain just went. So here's my conundrum. I know at least 5 people that still work there that I love dearly. And so I love my friends. So I feel bad shooting holes in their boat that is, in my opinion, sinking. So I don't want to say, I'm with you when I say, what the heck is going on over there? Because it doesn't seem, they haven't really added any new features in a very, very long time. I know all the stuff that I'd been screaming about for about 3 years finally came, like they killed Glow, they killed their apps. They're just now killing Libsyn 4, which unfortunately is sad because there is a great feature in Libsyn 4 where you can do mass updates to especially the Apple podcast stuff, and you can renumber if you've never used episode numbers, you could go into this tool, go to your very first episode and go put a 1 in here, now fill them, and it would. And I was like, that's a great feature. I'm like, did they move that to Libsyn 5? And the answer is no, of course they didn't. And I was like, so I am confused as to what's going on over there. Much like a lot of people, and I am starting to think of them more as an advertising company than I am as a media host. But if you cut me, I probably still bleed a little green because I put 8 years into that brand, and it was like, So, no. To answer your question, I have no insights. I'm just worried. And if they got rid of Elsie, I would not feel safe over there if I was working there. But I'm not, because I saw the writing on the wall a while ago. Still a great media host, just not very feature rich. But meanwhile, in the world of Ralph, and I don't know the answer to this one either. Does anyone truly understand the new billing format for Descript? Is anyone else as confused as I am? I am, in the fact that I read it and it sounded like, it's if you take the number of episodes you do a week divided by the words and then multiply that by the square root of pi, you will get your bill. And I just went, huh? I am almost not using Descript at all anymore. I turned on the $9 filler word removal on Buzzsprout, which is what this show is on, and it does a pretty good job. And that's really all I was using Descript for, was I would go in and say remove and like and double words, and it did a pretty good job. And it did show notes for me. And I just was like, well, and then it's where a friend of mine said, have you used Cast Magic lately? And I go, no, I have a lifetime deal from AppSumo. And he goes, I don't know what they've done, but it's a lot better than it used to be. So I went over, and sure enough, it's a lot. So I just run this now through, I run that through Cast Magic, which gives me my transcript, which I then run into Pod Chapters, which is Daniel's thing, which is really, really cool. So it's a fun tool. But no, let's see if anybody has an answer. Everybody's kind of saying the same thing. They're like, yeah, and it might be almost like your phone bill, that if you just make the bill so confusing, nobody will look into it.
Is it the AI credits that are throwing people off?
I think so.
An AI credit, right? I mean,
yeah.
This is, by the way, this is the future. When we think about the future of AI, I've talked about the bubble bursting, the AI bubble bursting. I think Descript could be the first look at what the new world looks like.
Oh yeah,
when we actually have to start paying for AI, and like this, it's like, how much is a Microsoft reward point worth? How much are the credits on your credit card? The points you get on your credit card, right? What are they worth? Kind of depends what you buy, right? If you buy things, they're worth more than if you just take the cash back, right? It's confusing, right? And I don't know if it's intentional. I just think it's the future of, it's going to get murkier and messier before it gets clearer. So, I know why they're doing it. Eventually AI will just be folded into everything. They have these at Descript, they have these media hours, right? That's how they say audio or video or whatever you're doing in there. So you have those media hours, and then you got these AI credits. And so, for now, welcome to the future. If you want to see the future of AI, the way you get billed for it, this is probably it, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, even I turned it off because Buzzsprout has their co-host AI feature, and it wasn't bad. It was just I looked up and I had turned on everything there is to turn on Buzzsprout, and I got my $58 a month bill, and I was like, is it? And I will say it was very convenient to basically get the file from Ecamm, trim off the first little 2 seconds of me looking at the screen, doing nothing, waiting for the timer to come on. And then I would export it as audio and upload it to Buzzsprout and go eat lunch and come back in about an hour and it'd be done. So I like that, but I was just like, $59 for media hosting seems, and again, I was getting more than media hosting, but $20 of that was the AI spot. And that's every time somebody says, oh, we're going to add AI, I'm like, you're going to add $20 to your bill. And a lot of times that's what it is. It's $20. Steve Stewart, the one and only Steve Stewart. There are quite a few media hosts adding these new features, which worries me, similar to Liverside doing Liverside. Yeah, it's a meat company. Riverside doing all the things. Do we need a media host to also do filler word removal? Well, behind the scenes, it's just all phonic. And we all kind of know that. It's not like Craig says Libsyn is still a very popular podcast host. Not as popular as they used to be. Like RSS.com and Captivate have passed them. And that pain, I cannot explain how painful it is to say that. 70 to 80% of Steve Stewart's clients, I got that email from Steve. That was cool. But here's the thing. Steve's been doing this a while, and there are a lot of people, and again, I'm not saying you should leave Libsyn. If it does what you want it to do, they're very good at doing what they do. But if you want to promote your own products and services and don't want to upgrade to Libsyn Pro, which in my opinion has been ridiculously priced for a long time. That was another one. I'd be like, hey, I get that we were the first to offer dynamic ad insertion and we really charged a lot for that. But like Captivate's doing it for $20. Buzzsprout is doing it for $19 a month. Nobody's going to pay $100 for that plus the bandwidth. And, so they painted themselves into a corner. I get it. Because how do you just lower your price? Everybody that's been paying for that service is going to go, huh? To which I then point at Captivate, who when they first came out had, I think it was 20,000 downloads for $19, right? So if you got less than 19,000 or whatever it was, and then they went, hey, you know what? Bandwidth prices have come down. Have an extra 10 grand or 10,000 downloads. You can now be more popular for the same price. And I went, oh wait, you can just give your customers more stuff without, just pocketing the profit. So yeah. Ralph says, going back to the AI credits, video credits and blah, 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 just so confusing. That's why it drives me nuts with the podcasting 2.0 stuff, which for the record, podcasting 2.0 is not dead at all. In fact, the whole Apple chapter thingy that just came out, they're using 2.0 spec, but the crap I have to go through to stream Satoshi stuff, I'm just like, I'm done with that. I just forget it. And it made it too complicated, and it needed to be easy. And instead of making it easy, it actually got harder. And so when you have to, do math to figure out, wait, so that's 4 credits and then you got to times that by 12 multiplied by whatever. Yeah, it's crazy. So, but Daniel pointed out, I do use Descript because I use Squadcast to record the future of podcasting. So maybe I won't kill it. John Jamango says Libsyn's on a push to add more clients, but not adding podcasting features that support podcasters just because they're Libsyn. Well, yeah, they did. The one CEO, Brad, said something in a meeting that I went, and he said, oh, we'll always have hosting. And I was like, not if we like, because at the time I was like, have you guys seen Captivate? Have you guys seen Buzzsprout? Like, they're coming up fast. So yeah, it's, we'll see what happens. Maybe they just, I don't know. Maybe I still feel like the mighty Libsyn will go, okay, enough, and just come out and go, here's a new thing that nobody even thought about. But that would have come from Greg, and they let him go. So who knows? We'll see. Tanner says, I haven't noticed a difference in Descript, but I only ever use the filter word removal. Yeah, I'll have to log in and look at my bill and see what's going on. When will Descript drop Squadcast for their version called Rooms? Because I'm not a huge fan of Squadcast. The thing I don't like about Rooms, unless they've changed it, and with Descript, I haven't used them in probably a month that I've actually used Descript. I've used Squadcast. But I'm sure their interface will be completely different from the last time I saw it. But with Rooms, unless I'm wrong, I couldn't find a way to schedule a room and get a link to send to my guest. So it's kind of like, hey, I'll send you the link about 10 minutes before, and then I would actually have to go in, start the room, get the link, and send it to people. So that I'm hoping has changed because that seemed really dumb at the time. Chris Stone from castahead.net, AI credits are tiered in the pricing as well. It ain't free for that stuff. Yeah. So when Canva added AI, I'm like, I don't need AI over here. Like, I'm happy with what I'm doing. And then their prices went up. Dad Space, curious about True Fans as a hosting site. Haven't looked into it. Sam Sethi is a really good guy and super he is the anti not adding new features. If you sniff a new feature, Sam will add it to True Fans. So I love him for that. He's not afraid to jump in and see, because we need more companies like that. The one I need to do is True Fans is now an app, like as a listening app. And I was using True Fans a little bit with the streaming crypto stuff, but I hated it because it was a web app. It was just kind of occasionally wonky. And so now that he's actually got an iOS app, we shall see. I did hear about a company called Podcast Magic, and you take a screenshot of whatever you're listening to, and I believe you email it to them, and they then send you a transcript and a clip, and to me, I'm like, or if you're using Pocket Cast, you just make a bookmark. It seemed like a lot of, and then I found out what it does is they have, I just listened to the interview, but they have a kind of an Evernote kind of thing, and we have somebody coming into Zoom. How cool is that? It's my buddy Ray from Around the Layout, but they have some sort of like Evernote type thing that they are doing, and so I was kind of like, I was not super amazed. Now I just got to figure out how to get Ray into, yes, I want to add a camera. I'm always a little, and we will add Ray here in just a second. If you want to go check out Ray, he's at aroundthelayout.com. He's now guest number 2. And if I go to this screen, in theory, there he is, the one and only Ray Arnott from aroundthelayout.com. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, what's happening? Hopefully this is working. Is this all working, Ray?
It's all working. Yay.
Hey, look at that. Look at that. Because the last time I came on here, holy macro, and I think it was all my fault. So glad everything's working.
It's
awesome
handy
stuff.
What can we help you with?
Hey, well, I was up, working on a project here. I threw the question in there and I said, well, the purpose of this is to actually come on and ask the question. So why not do that? So I'm working on trying to find a better way to get my interview guests to help promote the podcast after they appear. And it seems to be falling flat, and I'll take the blame for it. I got to do a better job of asking. The question is, what methods do you use, or do the people here in the room use, to encourage and supply the tools necessary for the interview guest to actually promote the show after it's been posted?
The one I saw that I thought was interesting, first of all, I will admit I am horrible at following up with guests to say, hey, your episode's out. Because as you said that, I was like, oh, I never sent Heidi a link. And Heidi Day Begay was on my show last week. But somebody did this and I thought it was interesting. Instead of using their branding colors, they used mine on the artwork. And I was like, oh, interesting. So that was kind of cool. But for me, the best thing you can do is anything that makes it easier. So here's a graphic or two. Here's the link. Usually it's the link to the episode on your website is what I send. That way anybody can listen. And then on your website, you should have links to, Apple and Spotify, et cetera, et cetera. And then the one that's the hardest is do an interview that's not like the interview they just did 3 times in a row. Because I always use Pat Flynn as an example. I've heard Pat Flynn interviewed, and in every interview, he talks about the Green something Academy architect story, how he lost his job, and yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, I always think there's no way Pat is sharing that interview because it's his story for the 37th time that his audience has heard it. So if you can kind of do a different interview, then they might be more likely to share it. Jim, can you think of anything that, I know you have guests and stuff. What do you do with, like you just had, what's her name on your show?
Erin Lawrence. We had Erin Lawrence on, and she does a good job of advertising. Ironically, the best one I ever had was a company called Unraid, right? They do server storage, and you can, software you can use. They went crazy when I interviewed them on my show. They put us on their front page. They sent it out in their newsletters, some of those kinds of things. So what I would say on this one is you got to kind of coach them along, right? And give them the opportunity, just prompt them. Hey, just a reminder, if you want to do this, you give them some, this is AI could help with this. Give them some quotes they could use based on some things they said. And this is where AI is perfect to say, hey, I had so-and-so on the podcast. Tell me, give me 3 great quotes from the podcast. AI will just grab them, pull them out for you, just share it with them, right? I think the number one mistake we make is we send it one time to them. Like right after the, right after the interview, or we post the episode and we're like, okay, here you go. We kind of pump and dump, and then we're gone. And I think we need to come back to them a couple weeks later and just say, hey, just a reminder, you were a great guest. Thanks for being on. I just want to remind you, you may want to come back. I don't know if I do it more than twice. And then go ahead, Dave. Sorry.
Well, if you ever get feedback from somebody that says, man, that was a great interview, I will forward that to the person and say, oh, by the way, here's the link to the episode. So that's just a way of saying, hey, you look really good over here. You might want to point that out.
Second thing I would do is tell them, when you post, let me know and send me the link and I'll boost it, or I'll make a comment on it, right? We know most of the algorithms in most social media are based on comments. Yeah. Right? And if you can go out and comment, it's great. If you've got a couple super fans that you can send a note to and say, hey friend, would you do me a favor and go like this over here for this interview, kind of behind the scenes? That might be a great way for your super fans to get engaged and to help you boost those things. That's one of those, we talk about this at Gallup. We have this exercise in coaching called Board of Directors. And it's like, who's around you that's influential in what you're doing? And for podcasters, I think that Board of Directors is our super fans. So they're the ones who are sending us emails. We don't use them enough to, we don't unleash the army enough on these kinds of things to just send them a note and say, hey, I had so-and-so. It doesn't have to be every week. You could strategically do it so you're doing a couple every week so they don't feel like they're getting pounded. But I think those are 2 really good techniques. More than once, get your super fans involved.
And then kind of setting the seed is after the interview's over and you're doing the chit chat and you're like, oh, hey, by the way, when this gets done and it's all edited, we're going to make you sound super great. Do you have a person that does your social? Like, who do we send the link to promote this? Is that Stephanie or Jim or do I just send that to you? So it's a polite way of kind of hinting like, hey, we kind of expect you to share that. And when they go, no, you can just send it to me. You're like, okay, great. So it's just a way of kind of going, we kind of expect you to do this. From the chat room, Jeff C says, if you're on video, and this is cool, there's a thing in YouTube now where you can add collaborators, which automatically puts your video on their channel, which is really kind of cool. And then he says, you can also feature on in clips via Instagram, and all the chat faces and book match and all those fun-filled places. Lewis says, when I let my guests know the episode is released, I say, feel free to share the link wherever you'd like. And they usually do, he says. Craig says it helps to send the guest a promo text to copy and paste on their socials so to save them the thinking of the text. Yeah, there's a website, I think it's still around, clicktotweet.com. And what it is you put in the link to your website and click this thing. It's free and up to a certain point. And then what it is when your guest clicks the click to tweet thing, if they're logged into Twitter, and if not, they have to log in. But basically, they click it, and you've already written the tweet and the image and everything. They just have to click that and go, oh, tweet, and they're done. So that assumes, your people are on Twitter and that whole 9 yards. So, but
so what I'm gathering, two things is, one, I've got to do two different approaches based on what type of guest. So I have manufacturers. That's a different, so you're talking about the corporate side, and that's definitely the, social media managers and making sure that gets to the right people that they can promote it. But when I have an individual on and they're telling their model railroad story, it's a person. So obviously got to make it a layout where they can basically copy paste, make it very simple for them. And, so my thought was I have the episode description, take the episode description, throw it in AI and say, hey, write this in a way that was, being told by the person that was on the show or something of that nature. And then just lay that up for them. I love the ideas. I certainly love the idea of, asking them not only to do it, but then loop me back in. So one, I know it was done. And two, then I can actually take that post and share it, because individuals that are being recorded, their biggest audience are probably going to be their family and friends that want to hear their story. Yeah. Right. I mean, obviously I've got my built-in model railroad audience that wants to hear about new people, but mom and dad are going to love to hear this. And so are their friends and family and everybody else that are going to want to hear this as well. So just trying to get them to help me promote it. And I've fallen flat. Even just the ask is not enough. Like it's got to be fed to them. And I do appreciate the methods to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. You can go back too. You can go back. Don't think you've wasted those. They're not gone. You may go back into the last year and try out a couple, maybe do some A/B testing with some of those and say, hey, for three of them, give them one format, and for the other three, give them another, and just kind of see what feedback you get to see, what that is. But it's not too late. You can, we always like to remember those things, and your content is super evergreen in a lot of ways, right? It doesn't age super fast. Doesn't, like my tech content ages out super fast, right?
Right.
So,
right.
you could go back and try this on last year's guests or this year's, I guess we're at the end of the year, and see where it goes.
Yeah, that's a great point, because it's not, it certainly isn't over. Yeah, we want it. We want those episodes from months ago to still be heard. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, do you invite, if you have a really good guest and they get good numbers, do you invite them back? Do you do repeat guests on your show?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I try to space it out, because I don't want to beat the heck out of them, right? Like where people get sick of hearing from Joe Schmo all the time.
They don't, though. They don't. Well, like if they're good and there's numbers, they want to hear more. You can't. You almost can't wear them out. I mean, you can, but you almost can't. Mm-hmm. Like you have to try hard to wear them out. So I would err on the side of more than less on those. Again, you're being cautious, but I think that's another area we miss with guests. We get a popular guests, and then we make them wait 2 years or whatever, right? Get them back on for a part 2, because there was a reason they were popular. It's because they're good. They're interesting. So don't miss those opportunities.
Yeah. As well. I don't week after week, but that's a valid point. Sure. Get them back, maybe a month later, get them back on again, or,
6 weeks.
That makes sense.
6 weeks goes fast. Like in the podcast world, 6 weeks is a blink, right? And so, you bring them back 6 weeks or 8 weeks. That's a good rhythm. 8 weeks is 6 times a year. If you're consistent, right? If you just had them every 8 weeks. And I wouldn't hesitate if you got a really, really engaged, active guest who's really good and people love to listen to them, I wouldn't hesitate to just repeat that cycle every couple months till they say let's quit, right?
Yeah, and I think part of it too, I'm weighing out as these guests and seeing how they perform, not only for the podcast, but what they're willing and how well they live up to their end of the deal of promoting it is so important too. Yeah. If they're not somebody that's, they could be a great guest, but if they're, just kind of ignore the fact that they were on the episode, even after asking them, it's like, well, you're not really helping me move this needle forward. I mean, depends on how well they do, right? Too. Yeah. I mean, there's things to weigh there, but it certainly does help
there. If they're a great guest, they're a great guest and they don't do anything for you, their value is in the interview, and that's okay, I think. Yeah. Now you got to weigh that. It's your podcast. You make those decisions.
Yeah, it's a point system, right? 5 points for adding it, but 15 points for being a great guest.
Throw in some AI points.
Trying to balance.
And we'll
there you go. Yeah, sure. Right.
Well, that's something I've never thought about. You could use some sort of link tracker. I use Switchy all the time, or Bitly or whatever. And when you share, like, here's the link to share our interview. If you give them something that's trackable, you can say, wow, that guy he shared it on his, Instagram, and we got 8 people that clicked on that, and where Joe Schmo only brought in 1. So when both those people go, hey, I'd like to come back on your show, you do have you can look at downloads, but you can also look at how engaged was their audience. Jeff had a great point too. He said, make sure that the share is about the guest and not you. So many people forget that. They're like, hey, please share this link because I'm awesome. And they're like, well, no, it should be you're awesome. Like, what?
Yeah, put that comment back up and just cross out and make sure the whole darn thing is about the guest and not you. And that will pretty much cover it. If it even starts at anything but being about the guest, then you're kind of on the wrong path. But appreciate that.
Yeah. Here's another one from Ralph. He says, you have to recognize that most people are not going to put much effort into where I lost my spot, are not going to pretty much put any effort into it because they're doing your show to try to grab some of your audience. Not sure if I 100% agree.
Well, but we do teach. I mean, we being podcast gurus do teach, like, hey, if you want to engage audience, one of the ways is be on other people's
show.
We say that, right? So he's not wrong.
No, he's right. Grab is open to interpret. You want to hopefully expand their listening to not only the person's show you're on, but hey, if you got time, listen to mine as well. So I get that.
Make it symbiotic where everybody wins, and then it doesn't matter.
That's right. What Ray's all about. Ray's all about partnerships. I
mean,
and I guess it's going back to Ralph's point. To me, it's like depends on who the guest is. If it's a model railroader telling their story, that's certainly different than if you're, doing collaborative marketing using your podcast, right? But most folks that you're going to collaborate with also understand the value of repurposing, and they're going to understand to repurpose it. Like, and if you don't have those people, maybe you got to have a conversation about, providing that value, right? Instead of just assuming it, like talk to them and say, hey, when you come on, here's what we can do with it. We can, you can use this, you can repurpose it. It's great for people to hear you in other platforms, and especially on my show. So I guess you just got to add the value back to that to make them understand it. And so they don't feel like they're just grabbing, they're actually, collaborating and walking with you.
Yeah. Daniel says, whenever I'm a guest, I prefer when they put any of those social posts to basically put it in the first person, like hear me talk about blank on blank, instead of it being from the host voice. That makes sense.
I was actually trying to figure out like the cool way of doing that. Like, hey friends, like, how do you do that? Like, that sounds cool, right? Like it sounds like a natural post, not just like somebody wrote this for you or AI wrote it for you. Right.
For sure.
Yeah. Ralph says, if they are limited options of time, guess what they may just grab that listener. Yeah. I mean, the worst case scenario, if I'm on a show and I'm like, It's the same questions of, it's what was podcasting like in 2005, Dave? What's, blah, blah, blah. And it's the same interview I've always done. I will at least tweet it out. I will put it in maybe my news. Like I will do the basics, but if it's really good and it's completely different, I will say, hey, here's an interview that wasn't like every one I've ever done. Like this is, if you want to hear, I remember once I went on a show about being divorced. And I don't do a lot of divorce shows, but somebody heard me talk about the fact that I went to my ex-wife's wedding, and they're like, oh, we got to hear that. And so I was on their show. So it was me talking about marriage. And I was like, hey, if you want to hear me talk about something besides podcasting. So I promoted that because it wasn't your typical Dave interview. So, but yeah, I get your point, Ralph. There are a lot of people that, and also I will say again, I'm pointing at me. I'm horrible at even giving the person a link. I just remembered now. I was like, oh, that should be when I get done publishing that episode. Like, if that's step 9, step 10 should be and send the links to the guest, because I'm always like, oh yeah, I'll do that tomorrow. I got to go to bed, and then I wake up and it's Saturday. The show's been out since Monday, and I'm assuming. And then you kind of go, well, I'm sure Heidi's listening because she knows it's coming, and I'm like, well, maybe not. I don't listen to my interviews because I was there. I don't need to hear me again. So you got to let them know.
We live in a world where so many things are automated that we're spoiled. And as I'm going through all the things that we need to do, I wish this was automated. Like just automatically the editing's done and it automatically sends all this stuff. And I don't have to do anything other than sit here and push one button. But there's definitely steps to be followed and checklists. And I'm going to try to build those processes. And that's what I'm trying to do to get myself organized.
Good point.
Yeah.
Good point. Don't make it too much, because then you'll hate it. And then you definitely don't do it. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to guarantee you're not going to do something, hate the process. And then you'll figure out, I'm going to go get a root canal or my left foot removed, or like before you go and do those processes. So make it enjoyable in some ways, right? Make it engaging to you. To Ralph's comment, if they're coming to grab them, make the content in a way where that's valuable to you. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, use their momentum to do the same thing. Right. So.
Yeah. Ralph says it amazes me that hosts, that would be me, don't tell me when the show is live. I have to see it on Google Updates, or he goes, I would gladly promote it. They just have to ask it, but it's just pure laziness. Yeah. That's laziness or absent-mindedness or whatever. But yeah, I go on a lot of shows and I get very few, hey, the episode is live. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I often think, because they're like, hey, do you want to come on my cooking show and talk about podcasting? And I'm like, okay, because for me, it's all about the relationship. And then I noticed that I never get notified that it went live, and I'll go look at their websites because it never went live. And I went, oh, they just wanted free podcast consulting. I'm like, that's nice. So wonderful. Yeah. That happens. But that's something I need to. If somebody said, what's the one thing you're going to do better in 2026? I'd be like, alert my guests that their episode is live, because I'm horrible. Like, I don't know why. I just need to, you have to identify your weaknesses so you can fix them. Ray, I have a question for you. Mm-hmm. Because you're really good at this. When I talk about engaged audiences, Ray is always in that talk. I'm like, you can expect 3, maybe 5% if you're good. And then I always go, unless you're Ray from aroundthelayout.com, just explain what you do with your community. Because don't you meet with them on a regular basis and all sorts of fun stuff?
Yeah, I guess maybe what drives me is humility and potentially some imposter syndrome mixed with guilt, right? Like when people hand me money, I want to make sure that they're getting the absolute most for what they're doing, because I love value and getting the most for my dollar. And my Patreon's $3. That's it. $3 a month. And it gets you a sticker that I send you once a year. Model railroading is driven by stickers, for say. It's turned into a wacky thing. You can't model railroad without stickers in 2025. And I'll be changing that very soon to 2026, because it still seems to be the trend. So stickers, I do 2 chats. I've been able to build a wildly engaged audience, not only here in North America, but also in Australia. And I think, the people that I've connected with over in Australia, and they've got a really strong model railroading community. So I do once a week, I do an operating crew chat. I kind of use it as both my, like Dave's got the kitchen table or whatever, Dave's kitchen. Like that's kind of my kitchen.
Yeah.
Like hang out with me and just talk, and it becomes a sounding board and feedback. But they love it because they get to come in and chat, and I'm always there. I don't skip out. They have access to me and hear about the show, and I get to hear about their modeling and projects, and it gives me show ideas. I do a monthly giveaway. Now in December, I do a giveaway. Last year, we gave over $3,000 worth of stuff away. I just reached out to manufacturers, and they basically gave it to me to appear on this giveaway show, which is about 3 hours long. So I always try to build value back into it. And I think part of it is the amazing community that model railroading is. We're very blessed to have people that are willing to give and willing to teach. And it's just because everybody's having fun. It's not a pressure thing. Even in the business side of things, people will have a lot of fun doing this hobby and being a part of it. So I'm definitely taking advantage of that. But yeah, I would just always look at what's the best way I can give back. What can I do to increase their value, increase their engagement, and make them, bring them in as part of a community. It doesn't seem like a lot of rocket science to me. It was just, come up with new ideas and execute and be consistent. Like the monthly giveaway is a monthly giveaway. Yeah. And make sure that you're doing it every month. The month you skip it is the month that it starts to fade away, and people go, so what's that $3 a month going towards again? And maybe they won't, but I always fear, and I edge on the side of fear of somebody looking at their bill or looking at something going, I haven't got much for my $3, which I keep it low so that, it sounds silly when you say, hey, $3 a month, but in turn, it's still people's money. And I respect that, that they're still sending that $3 and over 200. In a small community where my listening audience, 200 is not 3% of my audience. It's in the double digits of my audience. I'm very lucky, very fortunate, and blessed.
There you go. Excellent. Yeah. Ray was on episode 977 of the School of Podcasting. And I point a lot of people to that to go, here, this is partnerships, not advertisers, partnerships. So very, very cool. Anything else?
Super cool hobby, right? Super cool hobby.
It's super cool. It's a blast. The world's greatest hobby. And I'll take any argument you want around the layout at gmail.com. I'll argue it all day long that it's the world's greatest hobby.
Change my mind. There
you go. That's exactly. Yeah, I'll set my table up. We'll sit in the park, and you can come yell at me and tell me it's not the world's greatest hobby, and I'll tell you you're
wrong.
Love
it. Thanks for joining us, Ray. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
We'll see you.
Take care.
Take care.
Have a great weekend.
Bye-bye. And I'm honest, I hit the button. There we go. I was like, what happened?
Back to it. And I'm laying down.
Yeah, Ray's a good guy. In fact, he was in Cleveland once, and I went up and had dinner with him, and really good guy. So very, very cool. And I really need I just wrote it down. I'm like, send link to Heidi when I get off the show.
No, right on. It's a thing. I don't, I don't know why we do that. Post-production, and you're kind of like, just send them a note, give them some suggestions. That you don't have to beg. You just tell them, hey, it's there. Here's a few things I found when I was doing it. You can promote it this way if you want, if you're interested in doing it. You don't have to.
It's a change of your mental view. Because to me, the minute I hit publish in Captivate on the School of Podcasting, I'm kind of like, okay, and we're done, on to the next episode. And I'm like, no. It's after you send the link to the guest. And maybe part of that is I don't do that many interviews. I'm out of practice. But on the other hand, it should be kind of a, hey, ding, 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 you have a guest. This is not over until you send the links kind of thing.
I think it's more imposter syndrome than you think. Like, I think we get to the end and it's produced and we get it done. And then we think, oh, I don't know. Like, I'm not sure I deserved to be on this thing with this person, or maybe it wasn't as good as I thought. I mean, I do think we don't let them know oftentimes because of imposter syndrome, and we feel like, well, I don't know, maybe it wasn't that great. And it was great. You just got done producing it. Let them know. But I know some of you out there are thinking, you get to that point. You know why I know this? Because I think this way sometimes. I get done. I'm like, it's okay. It's fine. They'll find it. You move on. They'll find it.
Yeah, Jay says,
terrible. Just terrible.
Yeah, Jay says, sometimes we get so focused on production and forget about promotion. That is true. Yeah, he said, Chris from Podtastic Audio. He's the car dude now. I make a solid effort to let the guest know everything possible after the episode is live. Yeah, that's a good move there. Make it part of the post-production, upload the MP3, and email the guest. Check and check. Yeah, so absolutely. Stephanie Graham says, after you hit publish, there's still like 30 more things to do. Yeah, because... And I kind of hate this equation because it sounds mean. The bad news is I just think it's true. And that is the total number of downloads is equal to the value in the episode. So there's your content and your delivery. That's the value. Multiplied by promotion equals the number of downloads. Because if you don't promote it, well, then it's not going to get many downloads. And if you promote the crap out of it, but it wasn't a very good episode, it's not going to get, though. So I kind of think that's true, but it also, I don't like it because you're like, well, that means my show isn't as good as I think it is, or the promotion I'm doing. And there was another Chris Stone, not Chris Stone from castahead.net, but Chris Stone from the UK, did kind of a study on sharing video clips and how does it work in getting more downloads. And the answer was like it doesn't, getting people to jump platforms. He goes, but it's important because it keeps your brand in front of people. And eventually somebody's going to trickle in or whatever.
Branding does not always mean people do things. You're just in front of them. They see you. Doesn't mean they do something, but you're in front of them. Your brand is there. And so don't forget that's important as well. The more they see your brand, the better the response is to it on the backside. Dave, let me offer one suggestion to folks who struggle with this, right? So I'm feeling a lot of this in the chat right now. The production process is so hard. Like I get to the end and I've run a marathon. Right. So tired. I don't have 5 minutes to contact the guest. I get that. I get it. I understand. Right. Friends. We're friends here with that. But that being said, open up a doc somewhere in the very beginning, put your guest's name at the top. And as you're doing the production piece, when you see things about the guest that like are important to let them know, because if you're doing edits, you're going to see some timestamps. If you're doing a transcript, you can have AI help with the transcript. And as you go through your production process, spend 1 or 2 minutes during each phase grabbing things for the guest. Just like, this is important. Grab sugar. When you're done, you'll have 90% of what you need to contact the guest. It's all done for you. Like, I think sometimes we think that's okay, it's done. I've put it out there to the world. Now I got to do guest engagement or whatever. No. Do guest engagement as you go along. So it's not such a heavy lift at the very end. You can do this. I know you can. So get out there and maybe that's a method that works for you. Everybody's a little bit different. Get a document out there, guest name on top. As you go along, make those notes. And when you're done, you'll have a whole list of things that you can use. I do that with show notes while I'm in the show, and I'll make some notes as we go along. And then at the end, they're not so hard to put back together. Now AI has kind of changed that because it's made it super easy, but try that if you're struggling with it.
Jeff says the repurposing aspect is one of the main reasons I do video like this show. He goes, we easily get 3 to 4 really good clips to share from each show. Just add it to the end of your workflow. That's it. And then Rich Graham says, maybe you can add this feature to Podpage where after it's published, it posts on Facebook and Twitter and sends a link to the guest. It already does that. And the fun part of that is it works great when Facebook doesn't break it, which is a lot. We've almost dropped that feature so many times because Brendan will go back and retool it. And then literally 6 weeks later, they have a thing now where their token expires and you have to disconnect and reconnect Facebook about every month and a half. And the bad news is we get the blame for that, and it's not us.
Hey,
but
right after the go ahead, finish that.
Oh, wait, one last if you're on the elite plan of Podpage, you can add the guest to the episode automatically, by the way, and it will email the guest that their thing has gone live. So if maybe I should have done that, I should have tied Heidi to it, and then when that episode comes in, all you have to do is say Heidi is the guest on episode 1009. And when Podpage imports 1009, it goes, oh, hey, that's Heidi. And it sends a thing to Heidi that says, hey, your thing is live. So anyway, and now your point.
Well, I was going to say, what if you, right after your interview, you sent the guest a thank you? Hopefully you're doing that. Hey, thanks for being on. Appreciate it. And ask a couple questions. What was your favorite part? While we're thinking, if I was going to highlight one thing, what was your favorite part? Right. And get some immediate feedback from them. One that shows that you're honoring them by being on the program. Right.
Right.
Two, most likely they'll reply back. Make it easy. Don't make them write. Don't make them write the Magna Carta on the thing. Just a question or two to get some engagement. Then in that second, they'll write back with some stuff on it. Well, then that could help you with some of the show notes stuff that you're doing. Right. They could give you some clues to what's going on. And then you have an excuse to send it back to them to thank them again for those. Right. Make it a transaction of gratitude in both, because people love to be recognized. Right. So make that make that a document or a transaction of gratitude as you're doing that. You get a couple opportunities to thank them again. Thanks for being on the show. It was so great. I mean, this week when I had Aaron Lawrence, halfway through the interview, she was in a hotel in LA. Wi-Fi went out. I mean, it's just gone. Wasn't coming back. Right. She's from Canada. She didn't have the right phone plan to stream it here in the US. I mean, we barely let her in the US. So she's from Canada. We don't, can't have those people down here. So so she didn't have the stuff it took. Well, she was so apologetic. I'm so sorry. And it was like, Aaron, it's fine. I'll have you, good thing I had Uyghur there. I would have finished it alone. But it's like, it's fine. It's fine. It's great. These things happen. You'll be fine. But it gave us this time you were still great. Thanks for the time that you had, those kinds of things. So make sure maybe that's another trick in your thank you note right after the interview. And then ask a question or two. You might be surprised what their favorite thing was. What if you could send them things about what their favorite moment was? Now you have the correct intel to get the right thing. They did the work for you at that point. So,
well, here's another fun one. Jeff C says, we've been doing AI intro jingles into the guests. Now they're asking for them. So it's just another way to give the guest, to give to the guest. Experiment with the new things other than just sending links. Dan Lefebvre from basedonatruestorypodcast.com. Maybe it's just me, but I'm not a fan of automated emails and posts. It seems very not human, and there are already too much AI, bot, spam, etc. out there that's all automated like that. Yeah, if someone takes time to be on my show, the least I can do is send a personal email once it goes live. That's a good point. Daily sports history. Has anyone tried automating this stuff? Yeah, you can use Pabbly, or a lot of people use Zapier. Zapier works with an RSS feed, so you can say when a new episode comes into the RSS feed, automatically tweet it. I know that's one thing you could do. Ralph had another thing. He said, is there a service someone could launch to assist podcasters? Your interview concierge, help with these host type issues and build the stuff to distribute for them. A lot of these companies that do, we will get you on the top shows are supposed to kind of do that. I need to talk to Gordon. It's just one of those where my brain's like, no, Dave, you're being Dave. Don't start another podcast. You don't need another. But I so wanna, because it's a crowd-based show, and I've learned my lesson on that. Unless you got a crowd, you're not going to get any input. But I would love to say, send your worst pitches here and read them to me into a microphone. And so it's like, hey, this is Jill from the Everything Jill podcast, and here's my bad pitch. Hello. I really love what you're doing on podcast name. And that's what it says, podcast name, blah, blah, blah. And the company is, houseofpodcast.com or whatever, blah, blah. I just don't know how to do that without being sued. I'm really thinking I would get sued. And then we could have like a top 10. Hey, look, House of Podcast. And I'm just making that up, by the way. House of Podcast Productions. That's 3 weeks in a row. Somebody sent in a bad pitch. You're the top of the leaderboard. I think that would be fun. That sounds fun. And there's just a part of me that we all talk about how we get bad pitches. And I'm like, what can I do to help? And I'm like, if nothing else, just to have a show that's
for sure. Yeah, for sure. Birds of a feather on that one. So, I think you want to be encouraging and find good ones. Like really challenge you to go the other direction. Like who's pitching, who's pitching really, really well? Who is?
Yeah, there we go.
I think
that would be the way to go. Yeah.
I'm a strength space guy. I have to say that. I'm paid to say that. So
well, and people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones or however that goes.
Sure they shouldn't. Yeah. For sure they shouldn't.
Ray's already playing. He says, I took an episode summary, plugged it into ChatGPT and asked it to write a social media post from the guest perspective. It took 10 seconds and it had something that's really usable. We're talking about how just putting video on social can be, like, it's a great branding tool. Rich brought up a great point. Nobody goes to the store and buys Tide after seeing a car go around the track 300 times. So if you think about NASCAR, right? Tide's a big, it's all over the hood. It's just Tide, more Tide, and look at those guys turning left. They're so fast, But I
do buy it when they're in the store and they're looking at Tide versus what's the other? Name another laundry detergent. See, there you go. It's hard, right? You were thinking about Tide. That's branding, friends. We were talking about Tide. It's top of mind. You go into the store, you're going out, you grab the Tide, right? Then once you're hooked on it, and you're eating the Tide Pods, I'm just kidding. Don't eat the Tide Pods. Don't do that. So that's branding for sure, is getting in there and being top of mind. So they make that decision when people are like, well, what should I buy? Well, of course I buy this because that's the brand I buy. I didn't even consider, when I bought my latest iPhone, I didn't consider an Android device because that's the brand. So be the brand.
Yeah, I need to look into this. Stephanie says Podpage on LinkedIn will say new episode. It'll say new episode. I wish that changed. I think I might turn that off in my Podpage. I need to go see what that's doing on LinkedIn.
If only we knew a tech support guy
on LinkedIn. I don't have that. I don't have that feature turned on my show. I just again, I'm horrible at that. And I normally, and this is crazy, when I post it on social, I just grab the episode link and go, I'm going to post this on social. So I grab the link to the episode on my website, and then I go to LinkedIn and I go, here's my thing with the thing and the thing, paste. Then I go to Twitter, here's the thing with the thing, and paste. And if I get real smart, I'll type that once and copy it, and then just go to Blue Sky, paste. Then I'll go to Instagram, paste. Then it takes all of 10 seconds to paste a link, but I realized not all are the same, but yeah. It is, Chris says, it's branding and keeping it on the minds. Yep. It's what you know. Yep, absolutely. Well, you know who's on my mind? Our awesome supporters. They're awesome. You can be an awesome supporter. And like Ray I'm not like Ray. My lowest is 5, but I think 3 is the new 5, or 5 is the new 3. You can go over and be an awesome supporter for $5 by going to askthepodcastcoach.com/awesome and being like these awesome people on the screen, like Home Gadget Geeks and I Am Salt Lake and Spybrary and all these fun. I got to update this slide. That slide, A, some of those people aren't there, and B, I don't have Ralph's new show, so I need to update that slide. And I can't get my mouse to work. The show is brought to you by theschoolofpodcasting.com, where you get courses, coaching, and community. You can use the coupon code COACH and save, and that comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. And if you're looking for honest, constructive feedback, right now there is I don't do Black Friday deals, but now through the end of the year, you can go over and there's a deal going on at podcasthotseat.com. Jim, do me a favor while we're sitting here, if you're bored, go to the website fixmypodcast.com and let me know if it works. Fixmypodcast.com, because I got wording that said it's not. It should point you at podcasthotseat.com, because I was playing to see if the phrase fix my podcast would be less. Okay. Do you think the phrase fix my podcast is less, what's the word, harsh, scary sounding than podcast hot seat?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
The only thing I hate about that name is it makes it sound like your podcast is broken. And I'm like,
but somebody and that's why people come here to listen to this, is
right.
to hear ideas about how to do things better. So I don't think it's bad. Fix my
But
podcast.
there's a Black Friday deal going on over that includes a free month at the School of Podcasting.
That's Fix My Podcast, all one word, right? Fix My
podcast.com. Yeah, because I got Mark, the one and only Mark from podcastbranding.co said, hey, I went to that website. It's not working. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure it is. But it
does take a second to resolve. You have a forwarder on there that's a little slow. So just...
Well, blame GoDaddy.
Be patient with it. Be patient with it. It takes just a second.
Yeah. Speaking of things that you want to try, maybe you can try Podpage by going to Podpage, because when you go to askthepodcastcoach.com, that is Podpage. And if you want to learn Podpage, you can go to learnpodpage.com, or if you're a YouTube person, just go to search for Podpage HQ and you can subscribe there. We got close to 80 videos now. They're all like a minute and a half long. Like, here's a feature, here's what it does, here's how you use it. And if you want more Jim Collison, and hey, who doesn't want more Jim Collison in his awesome red Nebraska shirt there?
Ooh, go Big Red. Go Big Red. Bye week this week, though. So.
Go over to the averageguy.tv. Speaking of football, we're talking because the Browns had a bye week, and so many people were talking about how they had such a great week the week after that Sunday because our team didn't lose. They didn't play, but they didn't lose. So, and it's time, speaking of playing, to go to the Wheel O Names. So there we go. I was like, where'd it go? Who will it be? Will it be Ralph? Will it be John Muntz? Will it be Shane from Spybrary, or Max from Aviation News Talk, or Craig from AI Goes to College? And just so in case, I know a lot of times there's, FanDuel now has a thing where you can bet on who will win the Wheel of Names. I can now click shuffle and then spin. That's exciting. And so, and
it'd be
the
awesome
winner,
if we had FanDuel bets going on right before this.
There's $150 billion a year is spent on online gambling. Quit doing it, kids. But the winner is Shane from Spybrary. So, and this isn't like James Bond stuff, although I'm sure there's talk of Mr. Bond, but this is like real spy stuff. In fact, really cool because of my podcast story is Shane got to go on the BBC, which is really like a huge deal if you're in Britain, because he's like seen as a expert when it comes to spy stuff. So
nice. How
cool is that? And so if you would like to be an awesome supporter, it's fun. I'm flying blind. I swear every week I go, I gotta get my PC out of here. And I, again, am saying that. But if you want to be an awesome supporter, just go to askthepodcastcoach.com/awesome. Why would you do that? Well, because maybe we saved you some time or some money or saved you some headaches. Maybe we made you laugh or giggle. Maybe we keep you educated. It's all there. askthepodcastcoach.com/awesome. And Jim, I believe you had a Spreaker story.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, my good friends at Spreaker. Been around a long time. We've been a Spreaker customer, and I say we, I'm talking about I used it. I use it personally. I also used it at work. And so we were a long time free, they gave free phone away for 1,000 years. And I think I used it for 8, maybe 9 years free. And eventually, they pulled that stuff, and so we're a paid customer now. But you only can get 2 years, the most 2 years worth of stats back from them. Right?
Oh,
so the other day, someone asked me, "Hey, can we go back and get the whole shooting match on? I can get totals from them, which I know exist. If I go in and look at the podcast and I go back." I can get a grand total of downloads. I cannot get any granularity. So I I sent them a little note. I would love to pay you to give me a whole, I know you don't offer this in part of your plans, but I'd love to pay you to give me all my stats just so we can catch up. I'm like, well, we recommend that you actually keep track of your stats on a regular basis and move those into your own, thing. And it's like, guys, it's 2025 and you're a host provider. You should be able to give me, because you give me the totals. I know how many listens I've had since the beginning of time. There should be some additional stats that you could just have a guy write a SQL query and pull the thing out and give it to me. It's not that hard. Friends, it's 2025. Nope. They will not do it for you. And it was just one of those, listen, I love Spreaker. They've great service. They're never down. I've never had a problem with them. They've been owned by a couple different organizations, which is maybe why there's a data problem. Like they've got some numbers, maybe not all of them, right? But I was willing to pay them. There's this book I read back when I was in banking. The title of the book is "Why Are You Making It So Hard for Me to Give You My Money?" Right? And this is, I went to them and said, I will pay you to give me stats. Like, what would just tell me what it would cost for somebody to run a SQL query. Certainly, I can't be the only one on the planet of their customers. Aren't they top 5? Isn't Spreaker top 5 in hosting, Dave?
Yeah, number one, sadly, is Spotify. Number 2 is Spreaker, and then number 3 is Buzzsprout.
Yeah, so they're giant, and it's just like, guys, help me out here. So it was a little disappointing, to be. And again, we've had great service. They've been I like them. I still have Home Gadget Geeks. I haven't had that going over there. But it was just a little surprised that, we couldn't get historical stats. And yes, I get you should be, this is one of those kinds of things, we back up all our files. We should probably be backing up our stats in some way. I get that. You can say, Jim, you should have probably pulled an annual snapshot. This isn't the first time I knew that these stats weren't going to be available very long, but it still is a little disappointing. I was in a pinch. I needed them all. Just needed download numbers by month for the last 12 years or however long we've been there. I mean, I've been their customer forever. So anyways.
Yeah, I ran into this. Look, I love me some Captivate, and I love this screen where it shows you monthly downloads. And this is a show. What is this? Your Podcast Consultant. So this used to release twice a week, and then I went to once a week. Or not twice a week, twice a month, and I went to weekly. But it shows you your last basically 12 to 13 months. And I was like, oh. And then I went to scroll to the left to see, let's compare it to, because I've been on Captivate now for 2 years, and you can't. And I was like, oh. And then I noticed in Buzzsprout, you can't get monthly stats. And that's where I'm spoiled. I mean, working at Libsyn, we keep your stats forever. So you can go back to the very first day you joined. And the thing I really like about, now that I crapped all over Libsyn earlier, their stats have a great feature where I could go in and say, show me, like if I got a spike, like all of a sudden I got 2,000 downloads on last Thursday. I can go in and say, show me stats for just last Thursday, and then double click on this little bubble at the top of the peak, and it will show me the episodes. You can go, wait a minute, this show from 3 years ago is going viral or whatever. And I was like, huh. So yeah, Randy is like, hey, if you want your stats, op3.dev.
Yeah, a little late now to go to try to get.
Yeah, you can't do
12
that.
years worth of stats.
Yeah,
like, I could use Blueberry too. I never plugged them in. We never worried about, when I was first starting doing this podcasting at work. I didn't, to be honest with you. I mean, don't tell my boss this. I didn't think we were going to do it that long. I thought I'd get shut down. Like at some point they'd be like, yeah, that's enough, Collison. Like we're good. Don't do this anymore. Never in a million years did I think we'd do this for, 12 years and have, 5.5 million downloads. You know how I know that? Because that's a stat Spreaker publishes on the page. I know they have them. Like this isn't about them not having them. They have them because they. I know by podcast, and I know we've done like 5.3 or 5.4 million downloads since the beginning of time. So, but I never had a situation where I never needed to go back and be like, oh, I need to justify this by, 5 years ago. I honestly don't think looking at your podcast stats from 5 years ago are super helpful today. Like just not. There's going to be people out there who are going to disagree with me, and that's okay. I don't see it that way. Like I'm thinking like a year or two is about what in really, yeah. So anyways, go ahead, Dave.
I forget when Statsmageddon happened at Apple. I just know they cut a lot of my shows got halved.
Yeah.
So it's like, look, I got, like I think on the School of Podcasting, I'm very close, if not over 4 million now. But, 15 years of that was before Apple did their thing, and some of that was non-IAB stats, which for the record, if we actually if your host did no filtering at all, your numbers would be triple. That was the first thing I saw when I started working at Libsyn. I'm like, what is this huge number? And they're like, oh, that's the actual number of downloads. And I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, and this is the number after we filter it. And I was like, that's like, a third. And they're like, yeah, there's lots of bots. And I was, because there's something squirrely going on in the podcast space. They just can't figure out what it is. Because if you go into Captivate, if you go into Buzzsprout, if you go into Libsyn, the number one app is your website, and that's not the norm. Usually it's Apple, and then probably Spotify, and then maybe your website. And it's in every show I look at, it's the website. I'm like, that's not normal. Something weird's going on. Speaking of stats, go ahead.
YouTube bailed me out on this one, surprisingly. So, we've been posting to YouTube since the beginning of time.
That's true.
My YouTube numbers are that we have a comparison between what we do from a download audio perspective and what we do on video. And audio is by far more popular than our videos have been. But there's a ratio that we can kind of determine and say, okay, we could extrapolate that these had done about this many in video. We've got that over time. So you can, I went in there, we used ratios to kind of determine, we were trying to mine through some of our topics and be like, okay, what's been popular over time based on the titles that we gave these things. And so that's what we were really trying to get to. So where I can get lifetime stats for nothing? YouTube. And so, it's like, okay, well, that's a little telling.
It's tricky though, because over there isn't a play 0. I know that is on shorts. I don't know about longs.
We could start digging in and all the rules there, and they have their own bot problems, and they're a little more motivated to block the bots than podcast hosts, right? For all the advertising. Because they pay for that, right? I mean, they're paying pretty good dollars for that. So. Wait, it's all relative, right? You're coming into this, you got to know none of these stats are real. You know this, right? I mean, your podcast stats are not real. That doesn't mean, whatever number you have is not the actual number of people who listened, because there's so much garbage going on out. You mentioned them, bots and, the things that are happening right in the space. And so you got to kind of get a feel for like, where am I at today in relation to the last 3 months or the last year? Some in the haircuts that have taken place. Like, if my numbers are 300 this year and they were 900 at 10 years ago, that 900 number, probably not very accurate, just to be clear, right? Probably not. So I wouldn't take, regardless of who you have, I would not take any stats as being the gospel truth of what your downloads are. You got to take them in relation to each other.
Yeah, I always use it as a thermometer. Like, is it hot or cold? Okay, it's going up, so it's getting, but is it really 300 people? Because Chris asked, how do you get the most accurate stats without your media host? I don't know that you can. I mean, because I get this question a lot. If somebody listens to my podcast on a website, does it count? I go, if they listen to a minute, it does. It'll show up as Chrome or whatever. But that's the one place because podcasting is decentralized, right? You can listen on Apple or Spotify or Pocket Cast. But the one thing that is centralized is your feed, and that comes from your media host. So I tend to look at, the one I really look at is percentage completed in Apple. I look at that to kind of gauge, did this work or not? Because I'm sure even that can be kind of bought it out or whatever. But
you know what bots don't do? They don't give you $5 on Patreon.
That's
right?
it.
They don't buy your merch. They don't send you, well, they kind of do, but they don't send you emails of encouragement. Right. I think those are the measurements that we really need to be paying attention to.
That's it.
Engagement. Real engagement. Yeah. So again, Randy's, said Jim Collins is just dropping a bomb on podcasters. we all know this, friends. This isn't anything new. You should know this, right?
Well,
but it's just a good reminder. Like, don't obsess about those download numbers because they're probably wrong. I would be measuring engagement.
Yeah. The first time I went, is when somebody moved from Libsyn, who was IAB certified, and they moved to Spreaker, which was IAB certified, and their numbers went up. And I was like, and I'm like, how much? They're like, I don't know, like 8%. And I'm like, okay. Apparently there's a plus or minus 10% because it's the IAB is a standard. Yes, but people do implement that standard in different ways. And I was like, okay.
What? But standards can't be implemented in different. That's the definition
of a standard. I know. Yeah, it was. So, but
real engagement is real engagement. Humans. That's how you know when you're talking to a human. That's how you know. That's your real count right there.
Yeah, that's I think probably. I'm trying to think about this. I forget what the episode was. I remember I woke up because this either happens if it's really good or something's terribly wrong. And I remember I woke up on a Monday morning. So the episode had been out for 8 hours. And I had 4 people that said that was really good, basically in a nutshell. Because usually if I get 4 because 4 to me is like huge. That's a holy cow. 4 whole people took time to send me a message. Because usually it's, hey, do you know there's a 20-second spot of nothing at the 4-minute mark or something, like there's something dreadfully wrong, or hey, fix my podcast doesn't work. And we have found out that it doesn't work for HTTPS. So I need to fix that, or just give people the actual website of podcasthotseat.com. And if you're too yellow to even think about
careful.
Yeah.
Careful.
Well, that's interesting though, well, I mean, on a way it's surprising, but it's not surprising because it is, is Spreaker.
Yeah, they have it. They do have it. They just don't want to do it. Like this is the thing. You have it.
Yeah,
I know you do. I wasn't going to fight with them. I'm just like, no, I know you have it. Like, you could give it to me today. You could do this, and I'd pay you. So it's okay.
The feature I've never quite got is, look, 80% of your audience is on Apple, 20% is on Spotify, 5% is on Overcast, and 2% is on Pocket Cast. And I'm like, what content would I be talking about that matters? You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm like, because I'm always going to promote my website, which has links to all of those. You can subscribe on whatever you want. So the geographic stats, I totally get if you want to go on tour. I remember my buddy Joe Salsihigh from Stacking Benjamins did a tour and then looked at his stats in Libsyn and was like, oh, I guess we should have started in Detroit instead of Orlando, because he could see the cities where people were listening. And he's like, oh, yeah, I totally forgot about that. So I could see that if you wanted to do a tour. I'm trying to think what other stats you get. Everybody's got this one now where let me take this episode and that episode and then show me what it did the first 30 days. And you're like, ooh, this one got 4 more downloads the first week. Oh, okay. Like, I haven't seen one yet where, like, wow, this one's way different because I used a different, I guess it's a cool tool to use in case you do something, because your last episode title was episode 16 of the Dave Jackson Power Hour, and the next one you actually put a benefit into the title or something that it was, I don't know, but there's so many things. I just did a thing last night where I compared all of their stats, and I was like, they're all kind of giving us the same thing. I was surprised they couldn't get a monthly total out of Buzzsprout, but they're kind of really focused on the episode. Like, let's look at your episodes and let's see which one's bigger or better. And I like that Libsyn and Buzzsprout give you a 730-90 total kind of thing. Captivate kind of does that, but in the end, I think most people just care about downloads. So it's kind of tricky. The other thing I think that people don't admit as we start to wrap up is there was a study that said only 9% of podcasts want to make money with their show. And I scream bullpucky on that because I had a guy. That might be a little low. I had a guy yesterday. Really, like his trailer was good. I wish I could remember the name of his show. I can see his artwork, but anyway. And I said, well, let's go through. Who is this for? Why are we doing it? Blah, blah. And I said, how are you going to measure your success? And everybody says the same thing. And he said downloads. And he goes, and really just getting the word out and, not a word about monetization. And I said, oh, so this is more of a hobby show. It's not really a business. And he said, no, I want it to eventually be a business. And I go, then we'll be measuring things with dollars. And he was like, well, yeah, I guess so. And I'm like, now it might not be for a year or two. I go, first we gotta grow the audience. But it's always kind of funny. I don't know why. If the goal is to make money, then say the goal is to make money, because we will be focusing content on that. And if it's just I just want to get the word out, that's a different story. That's a different focus. It's that whole 9 yards. And so when I see that study from the podcast host, I was like, wait a minute, because then it said there was like somewhere down the line after saying, yeah, only a small portion want to monetize. One of the biggest like gripes was, I'm not making any money at this, and I'm like, wait, which is which? So that is for me that was kind of confusing. But Jim, what is coming up on Home Gadget Geeks?
Yeah, I mentioned it a little bit earlier. Aaron Lawrence from Tech Gadgets Canada joins me. Mike Uyghur, longtime co-host, is back. We spent some time talking about, she's got this new robot fridge. Dave, you put the water in, you put the cup in and hit the button, and an arm comes down and stops right before the edge of the glass and then fills the glass up for you. It can measure how much water, it needs to put in there. You literally do nothing. I know holding your hand against the button is such work.
I was going to say, like, wait, I can't do it.
It's a super cool fridge. That's just the start of it. We spend a whole bunch of time talking about other gadgets. Then the Wi-Fi goes out in the hotel she was in LA. So that's why you don't podcast from hotels, right? You just don't. Right. Podcasters don't let other podcasters podcast from hotels. Don't do that. Anyways, it's available now. We handled it just fine. It's available now. HomeGadgetGeeks.com.
Yeah, I'm going to go back for 2 seconds. Chris said, any system can be hacked, so who do you trust? You trust your media host. That's all you trust money. Yeah, that's what you got.
That's what you trust. That's what you trust. You trust money.
Yeah. On the School of Podcasting, when I was driving to PodIndy, I heard an episode, and I was like, man, that's really good. And so what I'm doing today and tomorrow as I record this is I'm explaining, why is this good? And then what I want to do is I'm going to ask like ChatGPT or Perplexity, like I'm going to ask kind of the same problem. Like, here is my problem. What can I do? What are the solutions for this, to see what AI says against somebody who obviously did a lot of research for this episode, and say, this is this is valuable. And I'm pretty sure ChatGPT will give me not valuable, but not as good. So that's coming up on the School of Podcasting. We'll see you next week with another episode of Ask the Podcast Coach.